original programming of our brain, fear, survival, right? We default to all of the negative things that happen, and then all of the social constructs and pressures that are put on us, and all the shit that we get from social and everywhere is negative, 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 negative. But it was a blessing. It's a neutral event. You've got to assign the value to it. The system's broken. Politics, education, religion, medicine, nothing, and I mean nothing, is what it appears. I can help people. So either get solutions or get off the team.
No, but I'm trying to convince myself that for the past 2 years, every month, the $439 I paid towards my car is justified. And I hate my car more and more every day, especially when winter rolls around. You had the Cybertruck. Have you had it in the winter yet? You don't know how the miles are during the winter. I'm sure it's better than mine.
Perfect. I've had zero problems, and I hate cars. I hate driving. I hate everything about cars. It is the most advanced piece of technology ever, and it's incredible. I also don't plug it into a hamster every day to charge like you do. But let's get to the core of your question. If you are driving the car every day and you really don't like it, and you don't like the way it makes you feel, and it's triggering an emotion and it's negative, get rid of the car. Now, getting a new car, knowing you, is going to be, how much is it going to be? How am I going to handle it? How's it going to be? Let all of that go. Let it go. We've had this conversation a number of times.
Yes.
Let it go. Believe, and it'll be fine.
I get it. And I talk to myself in that way every day. Now, people watching or whoever listening could be a super new topic. It's like, well, what is this guy talking about? Believe. Like, you could believe so much, but the proof is maybe I can't afford it. You know, maybe the down payment is too much. Like, maybe I should stick out this car for another year. How do you combat people?
If that's what you think, that is precisely what the proof will be. Without getting into specifics, you have seen enough evidence of me manifesting and coming in and showing you significant checks from unexpected places, continuing to advance the things that we're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You visualize the end result. You feel the emotion of the end result. You don't control how you get there, so key, because you're already there. And the universe will align the things that are necessary for you to be there. If your thoughts are, how am I gonna, where does it come from? Will I be able every month? That is precisely what you're going to get in your reality. If you let those things go and you see and feel and you know you're in that new car and it's better for you, it's better for your wife, it's better for your kids, it's better overall, it's better for your mental health because we're not abusing you every day when you bring the hamster wheel car in. Those are the realities that will present. Okay. Think of a main source of everything. I think only 3%, maybe it's 4% of the country are atheists by description. So that means the overwhelming supermajority believe something. Step one, putting our swords down. My religion's better, your religion's better. Having read every word of the Old Testament, which is parts of the Torah, having read the Talmud, read the New Testament, I can tell you definitively what we've been taught is not what it says. As I've read it, and you see my crazy tabs every few pages, there are key takeaways for me that really informed what I know to be true and why I'm so passionate about the Find Your Why. And I'm going to tie all this back. Just bear with me for a moment or two. So if the overwhelming supermajority, 96%, let's say, believe in something, obstacle one is handled. I don't care what your religion is. You believe that there is a source. So can we agree there's a source?
Yes.
Okay. That source is now tethered to each one of us individually. So we're getting a projection from source to us. And when you do the why exercise and you do core value exercises and you write your declarations, you will find it. You don't look up for the answers. You don't look out for the answers. You look in because you are a part of source. You are created by God. When you find those answers, you then have all of us connected by tethers from, and there's like ancient inscriptions and carvings of this, and nobody talks about it, which is part of the maddening thing of where we are in the world, but it's becoming more and more and more obvious as time goes on through social and other ways we could share this information. But we're all tethered to each other, but we get our direct sense of purpose, being, why from source. We are a part of that consciousness. Jesus is probably the most documented historical figure ever, where he was documented in real time by multiple people, multiple accounts, historically irrefutable at this point to argue whether he walked the earth or not. Now, whether he was a prophet for the Catholic Church and for Christians or whoever your prophet is, also irrelevant because the messages are the same. What Jesus did say is, you will do the things I've done and more. Like the things that you've seen me do and all the miracles that have been documented, you could do far more than that. Forget the traditional institutions, the traditional buildings, the traditional things you've been taught. You are a part of source. So you have that power. Our brains are the same as they were 100,000 years ago. Like not a millimeter has changed. While we've evolved and we are subjected to so much influence and messaging and data, we've gone through that, how many gigabytes a day of messaging that we're subjected to. When you don't find who you are, what you truly believe in, and when you find it, you just know. You hear me talk about sparks all the time. Those sparks you cannot get away from. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. You start to formulate those core values that you declare and you backstop and you reinforce every day, and you start to walk and live and believe it. As you are believing it and you're feeling it, it becomes your reality. Your circles change, your influences change. You and I have had this talk where I've spent hours scrolling through social media. It's hard for me to get through social media now because it's so obvious when there's an external influence trying to sway me to a different way of thought. And we're in a super dangerous part of the world right now where so many of us don't know our whys, don't know our core values, don't really know what we spark to. So that makes us very susceptible to adopt someone else's ideology. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if you are a part of source, which you're agreeing with, and because we're a part of source, we have incredible gifts that were bestowed upon us, you should be able to do things that source was able to do, which is create your reality. It is so real. And because it's so real, that every major psyop that we've seen pushes you further and further away from that, because think about the impact on society if and when we all wake up and recognize we have this power individually. You don't need the government the way we need government today. We don't need celebrities. We don't need sports stars, right? Sports stars is a huge part of my past. I'm looking up to, idolizing, adopting the ideology, trying to grind my way through and work harder than anyone else, which served me well for a period of time, and it's part of how I got here. But when you recognize you have the power to project your own reality, and there's enough science around this now. We've talked about the double slit experiment, right? When you're observing atoms, they will behave the way they understand the observer is supposed to see it, When you turn a camera on and you turn a camera off, they behave differently. That's fucking crazy, but proven. Okay? If you observe a particle in a particular space, it will appear in the space you're observing it, even though there's millions of possibilities of where it can appear. Okay. How does that translate and connect? Well, we're all made up of the same particles. We're all connected. And we talked earlier about the lap band surgery on stomachs. I was just listening to, I think his name is Chris Evans, where through understanding the power of the mind, they are conducting surgeries where there's no surgery, no cutting, no anything. The results of people who go through this mental exercise believing that they had the surgery, to the extent where they put a bandage on their skin after the fact to remind them, their results are 85% equal or greater to the results of the people who actually had the surgery. We've talked about studies, study after study after study, of people who go and lift weights and those who truly visualize and believe they're lifting weights. And the strength gains are almost indistinguishable between the group that's lifting the weights and the group that's not. The muscles are getting stronger because they're being told, they feel it, they can see how they look physically. You've seen my body completely transform. You've been around long enough to know I haven't changed my diet. I haven't changed almost anything over the last several years, and another 50 pounds just flew off. When you believe it and you see it and you feel it, you make it a reality. So when you believe the money is going to be a problem, when you believe all of these pieces, Neville Goddard has great teachings about this, and there's a whole bunch of documents that have like 2, 3, 4 liners that really reinforce this. It becomes your reality. And as you change your reality, you have your screen, I have my screen. Sometimes our screens have to interact because we're working on a shared goal. And that's where the law of attraction comes in, where if we're not aligning and I believe I'm at that end game and the end game is now, you won't be a part of that screen anymore. And somebody else who shares it comes into my universe. And I've seen that happen over and over and over. We have seen so many examples where we set our mind to something, and a lot of times you guys still say, you text me and I call you on it. Oh, it's funny you say that because, oh, it's so funny you just brought that up because. It's not funny. There is no coincidence. Of course this had to happen. So until you shed the doubt and the fear, the primal brain hasn't changed. I talked about this earlier from 100,000 years ago. It was safety. It was sex. It was shelter. It was food. That's all we were concerned about. Mm-hmm. So if the brain hasn't physically changed, that's your core programming. So while you're not worried about going outside and getting eaten by a Bengal tiger, you're worried about the other fears that society has projected on you. Number 1, 2, and 3 is money, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're fearing it and you're feeling that fear, that is what you're going to get. And it's a quantum leap, literally and figuratively. And it's not like, for me, this happened overnight. It didn't happen over a year. It didn't happen over years. But the example I gave earlier of if you dress every day in sweatpants and you feel super comfortable with it, and one day you're given a 3-piece suit and $1,000 shoes and you're all manicured, when you go outside, you're going to feel like, because people are going to look at you, you're going to feel like, I look like an idiot. The pants are too short. This jacket is tight. It doesn't fit right. I'm getting a rash, the shirt, the collar, the tie. What they're really thinking is, Mike looks tight. Like, Mike looks really good. But your brain is programmed fear, right? This is different. And until you put that suit on every day for however long it takes, that's going to be your perception. But one day, when that clicks, and you're wearing that suit and you're feeling like, I'm a player, I look sharp, I'm ready to go, you're going to project that onto your screen and other people are going to see it and you're going to attract different people. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So as much as I love to shit on you, I'm not shitting on you now saying, just stop fucking saying it. Stop worrying about it. But that's what you need to hear. Mm-hmm. And you need to continue to see the examples of it so you can believe.
Yeah, and it's tough because you said it perfectly where you're saying this didn't happen overnight, right? Years and years of work and all that. So me, Pete, or whoever who thinks of something as simple as a car. Most people, not everybody, has a car, and they pick their car that they're going to drive based on what they can afford. Now, if I wanted, what I would love is a Range Rover. I know right now I ain't getting no Range Rover right now. But if I change my mindset, probably tomorrow. But is it dangerous if I said, "Oh yeah, I'll get a Range Rover and I'll pay $1,000 a month, whatever the payment is," knowing right now I'm not financially ready to pay for that. But by what you're saying is that you shouldn't worry.
The short answer is no, it's not dangerous. The long answer is it's very dangerous if you haven't put the work in and you're not at that place. And for everybody, it's different. I've seen some people who pick it up immediately, and I've seen others that will likely never pick it up. So you have to know you're ready and that you believe in this. And you've seen my schedule change. We've been through all this sort of stuff, right? I meditate every single morning. I meditate every single night. I've had some wild experiences through those meditations. I do my declarations every single day. I read my Goddard teachings every single day. I do, they're called chest openers or something like that, these exercises for de-stressing. I do these like minute long or 2 minute long rants if I'm having a minute of doubt, where I rip through my declarations. I am perfection. I am love. I am unstoppable. I'm everyone's top priority. My wealth grows every day. And I pump it in, right? Because you have those flickers of doubt. When you've done the work and you're doing the work, which should not feel like work, it should feel like, I can't wait to do this. And that takes time. Getting up every day, writing this stuff out, reading 10 minutes of whatever religious book I'm reading, doing I'm drawing a blank. The declarations, listening to the meditations. It goes from, I got to do this now, looking at my watch, checking my phone, to that's just what I do. It becomes habit, right? It's become my new environment. I will not take calls before 10 a.m. unless it's a glaring emergency.
Like when I call.
No. And I won't be here after 5. Because the so much time and energy, Mike, gets spent on the distractions that were put here by design to keep us from where we really should be and what we really should be thinking about. And we do those things for hours on end, playing video games, which I love. I'm not knocking video games, a time and a place. Mm-hmm. Scrolling through social media, binge watching stuff on TV, getting lost in stuff, again, time and a place. Yet so much of us, maybe 9 out of 10 people that I meet, are truly not happy. Really, truly fulfilled and happy. We repeat the same things every day. Therefore, nothing can change. We're in these loops. I was making notes the other day. I was hunting with my son. And, he went down to his stand. I went to my stand. I get out super early. It's dark. It's quiet. It helps me get into like a theta state where I get my best ideas and real clarity when I'm in a tree stand. You sit in a tree stand for 12 hours a day.
How the hell do you do that, by the way?
Well, I used to do it by going through my phone, watching movies, scrolling through social media, distraction.
You just wait until you hear a noise and try and locate something?
Wait till every so often you're looking around, it's called glassing, you're listening, you do your calls, but there's days where you see almost nothing, if anything, and there's days when it's crazy off the hop. But in those quiet times, I found a pull to, okay, well, what time is it? And maybe I'm going to come out for lunch. So if I'm going to come out for lunch, I'll do it at 11. Oh, it's only 9 o'clock. All right. Oh, it's only 9:30. Well, let me do some scrolling. Oh, it's only 10:15. And I went, what am I doing? I wait for this time of year every year because it's one of my favorite things to do is to go out and hunt and be in nature. And here I am doing it the thing I can't wait to do every year, and I'm looking for the distractions. How about I get in the moment and enjoy it? And it's hard to be present in this world.
100%.
It is so difficult. So I started tracking these little things. And as I was driving home at the end of the trip, I'm glancing at the miles, glancing at the miles, glancing at the miles, glancing at the miles. And I had to catch myself. And I'm like, I'm with my son. We're getting some great time together. Why the fuck am I staring at the miles and how long it's going to take to get to that next thing? So I can do what? So I could sit on the couch and look to get to the next thing? But by design, this is the world we live in.
And we kind of had a moment like that yesterday when you text me saying you were free or whatever. And I told you I was working from home because I had my son. And I was trying to get work done and my son started crying. And I was like, ugh, like I can't do this. And I said it because I know I had work to do. I had a responsibility, got to get this done. But now I got to stop and try and get my son to stop crying and calm him down. And he said, what do you mean you can't do this? It's like, it's stressful trying to do everything. And you pretty much told me, like, slow down. Embrace the moment. You'll get your shit done, but embrace this moment while you can because it doesn't last forever, pretty much. And it's hard because me as an employee, I have a responsibility to ensure that things get done. I'm providing value, but I also got to be a father, right? So, and I think that's what a lot of people struggle with is.
So let's pull that apart.
Okay.
I said to you, why is it stressful? And you said, well, I've got responsibilities. I've got this, I got that. I said, did I call you up this morning screaming and yelling, why are you not in the office? No. Did I call you up and tease you about it? No. When I called you up, the baby was crying. And for me, at this stage in my life, it's like, what a blessing. Mm. And for you in your life, every event is neutral, always, everybody, every event, no matter how good you think it is or how bad you think it is neutral. It's the value you assign to it. You were choosing to assign a value that you had a bunch of things to do, and the baby was crying when we had a call, so it was taking you off task, and you have all of these obligations and all of these pressures, and how am I going to get all this? The reality of it is it's a neutral event. What I tried to assign to it was what a blessing it is that your wife is sick, your son was sick, you're able to be home, take your son to the doctor, still get work done, still have the call with me without a problem, and not have to worry about your job tomorrow. Original programming of our brain, fear, survival, right? We default to all of the negative things that happen, and then all of the social constructs and pressures that are put on us, and all the shit that we get from social and everywhere is negative, 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 negative. But it was a blessing. It's a neutral event. You've got to assign the value to it. So as you start to reprogram those things, it's hard at first. I get it. But over time, everything becomes neutral because when it's not neutral, you jump to emotion. It's thought emotion, right? If you can have the event and detach from it, law of detachment, and say, okay, this happened. This is the value I'm assigning to it, and here's the reasons why. It's very positive, and you're rewiring your brain to understand every event is neutral. It is simply the value I assign to it. And the more positivity you assign, and those pathways are starting to refire in your brain, the easier it becomes to see those things as you get older.
And this is like, I think, really tough for new people. And I still consider myself new because I'm learning every day. Like, I would never make the correlation with the silly joke about the car, right? To me, it's just got to figure out to get a new car because I can't drive a day without needing to charge it. But being able to detach yourself from a situation, any situation, because you said everything is neutral, and try and apply a particular value towards it is tough. You know, people go through death, you know, finance trouble, list goes on. And you know, when my grandmother was sick and she passed away, it was impossible for me to say, take a step back. And the old saying is, like, think on the bright side. She's no longer in pain. She's with God. Like everyone, that's like what you always hear. But it's your grandmother. She just died. Now you immediately apply a negative value to it. No matter how much you try and, rub my shoulder saying it's okay, she's in a better place, there's a negative value because I just lost my grandmother. But you could apply the positive value and say, yeah, she is no longer in pain. Yeah, she is with God. But that is tough.
How old was she?
70 something.
So how many good years did you have with her?
35.
And did you learn a lot from her?
Yeah, enough.
And you enjoyed the time?
Yes.
I would contend there's a hell of a lot of positive things that you could have assigned at that moment. And I'm not belittling. I lost my dad almost a year ago. Mm-hmm. And I fell into the trap. I assigned all the negativity to it humanly possible because there was a real friction point with me and my dad for most of my life. And in retrospect, and because I was stopped short by somebody else who I attracted in my life that was along the positive thinking mindset, stopped me in my tracks one day and said, well, let's talk about it. And I explained the saying goodbye thing. And, I got nothing. Mm-hmm. Like, you build up this picture of, oh, son, I'm so proud of you. Blah, blah, blah. None of that existed. I got a thumbs up. Right. And it really bothered me. Mm-hmm. And I found reasons to make it so much worse than what it was. And they stopped me in my tracks and said, man's on his deathbed. He knows it's the last time he's going to see his son. What if that thumbs up was an incredible act of courage on his part? What if he was so choked up and so proud, the best he could do was, hey, man, thumbs up. Mm. Hadn't even considered that thought. Hadn't even thought about it. All the good, all the bad, nothing is good and nothing is bad. The things that I perceived as bad was an opportunity for me to learn to not repeat with my kids. Right? The things that were positive, I learned to reinforce with my kids. It was all neutral. And I know it's hard, but I send you these things on social all the time that I come across that are positive. I sent you a young lady last night.
Watch that.
That's had multiple brain surgeries, strokes, father committed suicide.
That was an emotional video to watch.
Emotional video. And boy, does that give you some perspective. And she talks about how when she was really down on herself and down about life and wondering how much does one person have to endure, things continued to get worse. When she shifted her mindset, she became a national spokesperson for the type of tumors that she had, the cancer that she had. She went back and started taking speech therapy and was able to, because she lost her hearing, she was able to read lips and communicate again. Her whole life took a completely different trajectory that in the moment, she's very candid about, she never dreamed was possible. Once she shifted one thing, the only thing she shifted was her mindset. Her whole life has changed. Now, not only is she living an amazing, fulfilled life, she's inspiring fucking millions of people who have gone through the bad experiences like her and who have not. One thing changed. Mindset. That was it. The proof is everywhere, but again, because we're programmed and we're physically built with the same noodle that we had 100,000 years ago, fear, life safety, protection. We haven't evolved that way. We haven't evolved to endure this insane amount of influence. I would contend it's by design and it's evil.
It's too much negative influence.
It's so negative. It's so over the top. We have become so polarized. And we hear about that now. It's acknowledged now on both sides, but there's no fix. Well, we need to have our kids on social media less. Good luck. You're not going to regulate your way out of this. The way you're going to get out of this is if you teach the kids they are all that is. And no matter what society puts on them, they are bigger than any circumstance ever. And when they believe in themselves, and again, they don't look up to God first, they don't look out to their community or their extended community on social first, they look in, naturally the noise starts to fade away. They'll be on social less. They'll be doing things that aren't fulfilling less. They'll lean into what they love. They'll believe. It's why we're doing the academy and why those first modules were so important and why education reform and term limits are so critical, because there's a broken system. And while at least we're talking about the problems now, nobody's talking about reasonable solutions. And we're not, again, going to over-legislate our way out of this. We're not going to overcorrect our parenting our way out of this. It's not going to happen. It's so pervasive. It's everywhere. The kids have to look in first. The parents have to look in first. The grandparents have to look in first. And then it just happens.
How do you get everybody on the same page?
I don't know how, and I don't care how. I know it's done already.
And that's part of believing.
And that's, not only do I know it's, I feel it, the lives that are changing, the impacts that are occurring, and you get choked up about it. It's already done. Can't control how it gets there. When you feel that spark and prompt to act, you act. But short of that, my style with you and the team has been a 180. Instead of these long meetings where I'm whiteboarding and directing and telling, now it's very much, okay, where are you guys at? This looks great. Maybe change this, add that. I've pulled completely back because me controlling those pressure points or steps means I don't believe it's done already.
It's, if you let us operate, then they're bringing the vision to the finish
These
line.
other influences, when I need to speak, I know. When I don't, I need this diverse team from all different walks of life, different faith, different political background, different countries, right? We have a team with influences from different places that are all those little sparks to me as you're assembling the team and we're talking about how things are they're going to be done. I don't say a lot of it, but I'm thinking, all right, we've got someone from Spain. Perfect. Okay, we have someone from a completely different faith. Perfect. Okay, we have someone from a different political idea. Perfect. We need all of that, right? But I'm not controlling it. If I would have controlled it, it would have been a maniacal process. I've let it go.
And you were good about that, because even when we were talking about a particular member of the team, you didn't want them originally from a particular place. And then I was able to source someone from a place that you didn't have in mind. And now this guy's killing it. And it's just, it's working, right? You mentioned the news outlets and how they're just pumping, and all the distractions, everything's pumping you with negative stuff. And earlier and just before, when you mentioned the lap band surgery, that was a quote unquote surgery, nothing ever happened. Is there, or do you think we can as a society where that becomes news? I know about the sheriff or the lieutenant in New Jersey who was just convicted of raping a child, but I didn't know about this breakthrough experiment because that's what the news fed me. The news fed me negative. And when I hear that is I think about my daughter, and I think about, God forbid my daughter ever got lost somewhere and a cop had to pick her up. I live in fear. But they don't want to tell you the story of this experimental breakthrough on how it works. Do you see, or do you think that there's a place where we could actually get to news outlet pumping positivity into our life every day?
It's already done.
See?
It may not be the news outlet in the traditional format. Maybe it is. It may not be the way we consume news today. Maybe it is. I don't know how it gets done. It's done. I'm living in that reality now. It's already done, which is why these things become effortless, which is why the recording of the sessions in the beginning was a grind.
Talking about the ones where you and Shad and Macy, or
those that predate, it was just the process to even get to how we were going to shoot them grind. When I started living and it's done already, it's done. And now we come in and we shoot almost effortlessly.
It's because my lesson plans are fantastic.
It's part of it. And part of it was me letting go that I was creating and writing every single word of every single lesson plan. Right?
That's true.
I let it go. I talked about the topics in a format that's comfortable for me. We used AI to help us capture it all, annotate it, give you talking points. You refine it, put it in my voice, and I go up and I say exactly what needs to be said. And when it's off mark, I freelance it, right? But it's all the original thoughts. It's all the original content. It's all the original concepts. But we got here in such a better way.
Yeah. Now, we talk about mimetic theory.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it in the last episode. And what the world is about to go through, I feel like that is going to be the center of everything with the Epstein files and signing off that they can get released. There's going to be a lot of negativity from left pointing at right, right pointing at left, and world pointing at everybody. This is a bombshell that many anticipate is going to disrupt the system to its core. How do you not look at it from a mimetic theory point of view?
So for me,
And real quick, just in case no one heard your explanation on what mimetic theory is, just
so mimetic theory is when you have a concept and you're trying to get it adopted by the masses. It's infinitely easier when there's a scapegoat. When you can point to someone or something as bad, it makes it easier to identify your ideology into massive amounts of people because they're using the fear, the paranoia, right? Think 100,000 years ago, that in our subconscious, that fires. Like, yes, this person bad. Therefore, everything else that this person is saying must be good, right?
Yep.
It becomes easy to adopt that ideology when you have people who don't know what their core is. So you're talking about the Epstein files and all the disruption and all of the chaos that likely comes of it. In my mind, it's like, well, yeah, of course those things have to happen. That's part of how people start learning about these other things. When there's enough disruption and enough upheaval and people start to see enough corruption, perhaps we do need to reform education. Perhaps we should look at term limits, right? All of the stuff we started years ago, things are playing out now that would support precisely what we're beating the drum about. I didn't know those things were going to happen. Maybe. But here we are. So as this plays out, I would ask everyone to consider, we're talking about the most egregious violation basically you can ever commit against another human being.
Is it the one thing that would make you commit murder? Well, there's probably plenty of things that would make you commit murder, but
your existence is enough to prompt me to commit murder.
There he is.
But don't take me off point here. When you're looking at these things, there's going to be a lot of gray area, some of it intentionally, some of it just because it's gray. There's going to be a lot of pretty clear lines of who did what. And then there's going to be a bunch of shit we're never going to learn about in this go around anyway. If your first thought is to align with your political group and only look at what the other side did, it's a real opportunity for you to, I don't care. The academy is free. It's always going to be free. I'm not gaining anything from this. There's no financial benefit. There's no firewall. It's just, I want to share what I've learned. Maybe it's a good time to start looking at those things about your why and your core values and start to really understand who you are, because something is wrong. Right?
Yep.
This should be across the board. If there is clear evidence that someone did this, they go to prison. Full stop. If there's evidence that they didn't do it, but took funding from them, we got to really take a hard look at should these people be in a position of power, because their judgment is super, super questionable. And then again, there's going to be a lot of gray in between, and there are some even far worse things we won't hear about now. But that's a good check valve. You know, people get crazy about the Charlie Kirk thing one way or the other, and that's very sad. Nobody should be shot for their beliefs. You know, I agreed with a lot of the concepts Charlie had. I disagreed with how he conveyed it many times, and I think a lot of that was a function of youth, right? As you get older, you soften a bit, you go through enough, you see, you learn.
I do think, and correct me if I'm wrong, was he on the spectrum like a little bit?
I couldn't tell you.
I think I saw something that he was on the spectrum, and if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I thought I saw something. And if that's the case, a lot of the times it's hard for them to have an emotional attachment to their words.
Whether you are or you aren't, if you're just speaking your truth, there is absolutely no circumstance where it is okay for people to be posting, laughing, joking, mocking. That's a really scary place, because carry that forward. As these files come out, there's going to be people on both sides of the aisle that are guilty as sin. In that thought process, well, it's okay to go out and take these people out because they've done the most egregious thing. Certainly, raping a child or sex with a minor is far worse than speaking your truth about your faith and speaking your truth about political beliefs, right? So these are the micro movements that really lead to a collapse in society. And I've joked with you about it, but then I got serious about it. We're at that inflection point in the country and the world where we need to start looking in before we look up, before we look out, get aligned with who we are, and the rest of the stuff will start to fall away. Just do better. We got to do better.
So I could see it playing out in my head, right? Because right now the narrative with the Epstein files is Trump's on the list. Trump did bad. Now,
that's one narrative that you're hearing.
Yes. And I've heard in the past, I've heard, Clinton, this person, that person, what have you. Now,
the other narrative is his administration brought the prosecution, and he was an informant for the FBI against Epstein.
I didn't hear that one.
And he threw him out of Mar-a-Lago and banned him from the club, right? So those are the narratives that are dangerous on both sides. When evidence comes out, if it's crystal clear that somebody committed an act against a child, it shouldn't make a shitting difference what side of the aisle you're on. That person does not deserve to be in a position of leadership.
Now, how do you say the evidence is irrefutable, right? Like, because what recently came out was an email thread with Epstein's brother talking with somebody else about Trump and what he may have not done with Bill Clinton, what have you. But it's just words, right? So
that's the gray area that we're going to get into here. You better be damn sure, because now we're talking about ruining people's lives, their families, their lives. We better be damn sure and clear. I don't think there's any argument that some really nasty shit has gone on here. But before we start jumping to that ideology-driven belief, that's what we have to understand and really be comfortable with. And again, for me, the patterns have become too easy to see. So I've got a really good sense of what's real and what's not real as this stuff comes out. I've got a really good sense of when we're in a psyop, which is pretty much all the time with everything. But I'm very grounded in my beliefs now. So it's easy for me to see it, and why it becomes hard for me to go on social media now, because it's like, it's exhausting. It's everywhere.
Honestly, I'm going on Twitter or X. The one thing I constantly see is people talking about Trump and Trump done bad and yada yada yada. Um, but if this was proof, Trump should be arrested, obviously. But it's just words. Like, I need a little bit more, and this goes for everybody across the table, whether you're a former president, a president, left, right. I don't give a shit who you are. Words can, exactly like you said, destroy someone's life. Do I want there to be pictures? No, because then that's just fucking disgusting. But that's how I can hold somebody accountable.
Yeah, look, dots, dashes, and lines.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't want to have this come off as a political thing because it's not. It's just the facts as I see them. We watched Trump get charged with everything under the sun. Many of the charges are related to the industry that I'm in. So I was able to see crystal clearly many of those charges were an absurd witch hunt. Things that are absolutely done every single day, and there's no harm to a party in real estate. So those charges never should have existed. If the party that was going after him had control of the government for 4 years and none of this came out then, now all of a sudden is the time that they're going to try and get it released when the guy is in office. That's a hard mark for me to move, and it's not a political thing. It's the optics of this seem
fishy,
beyond fishy. If you're going to invent charges to pursue him in multiple states on multiple crimes that didn't exist and bring fraudulent appraisals and all sorts of silliness into it, wouldn't you go there first? Yeah. Now, the other side of me says, well, perhaps it is, but the other side had so much to lose that they weren't willing to pull that string at that time. And then I think back to Trump brought the prosecution against Epstein under his administration originally. So I've got to forget the name Trump, and I have to just look at an individual. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty easy for me to suss out what's real, what's not, what's right, what's wrong. But for so many others, it's not.
I think that would be a really cool experiment if you were able to like showcase what people are doing without having their name associated to it, to see how their opinion would fall. Because I think political influence just carries a lot of people's opinions, right? If it's someone on the left and it's their person, oh, it's not that bad. Someone on the right, yeah, it's not that bad. But if you don't assign the name to it, you can then, without prejudice, give your true opinion.
Well, they do those videos now, right? They do the videos of a Hillary Clinton speech, but it looks like Trump is saying it. And they'll say, oh, terrible racist. And then they say, oh, but this was a Hillary Clinton speech. And they do it on the other side as well. Yeah. Right? But that's the danger. We're so connected to an ideology that we really don't believe in, that we need that mimetic theory. We need that bad guy to justify the rest of the thought. And it's just not healthy. It's not sustainable. And it's bringing us to a real tipping point.
Do you think where we currently are, and with the release of the age of disclosure coming out within a few days, is this the right time for people to get that message?
Oh, it's definitely the right time, and it's no coincidence that these things are being released in conjunction with UFO and UAP disclosure.
UAP.
Right? More distraction, more news. The news cycle is, it used to be the news cycle lasted. Like it took some time to move off a story. Now it's like every day there's something new, something outlandish, there's something crazy to jump to. Distract. Do whatever we can to keep people from finding how incredibly powerful they are as individuals.
They just want to control the narrative.
They want to control you. And by controlling the narrative and keeping you distracted, you remain in a state of fear. You don't look in. You don't realize and fully believe, if I am a part of Source, I'm perfection. I am all that is.
Where did I notice you use source a lot rather than the word God.
Mm-hmm.
There's a meaning behind that.
Sure.
Why?
Because I don't want to give people any reason to feel this guy is a religious nut. Discount it. I'm trying to be very purposeful in my words. I'm very deep in faith. You know this about me. But that's my experience. There's a reason I know 4% of America are atheists, because I've researched and thought through, if it's 96% believe in some higher power, let's stay away from the trigger words at this stage of the game to get people to be receptive to there is something else out there. There's something that is infinitely wisdom. It has infinite wisdom that we believe we can't imagine. And if we are a part of that, what does that mean about us? So I use source very purposefully. For me and for 96% of the world, it's God. The core tenets of religion are shockingly the same across every religion. Across all of them, the core tenets are the same. Then it starts to get into the individual groups. Jesus was the son of God. Jesus wasn't the son of God. Muhammad was the prophet. Muhammad wasn't the prophet, right? That's when things fracture. But people buy into that ideology, and Jews don't believe Jesus was the son of God. Bad. Christians think, or Catholics think, that Jesus was the son of God. Bad. It gives us those polarizing, it gives us the scapegoats to say, bad, I'll adopt this wholly. That's why I wanted to read every word in these texts. I wanted to see how close it was to the translations, and good God, is it not close? For me.
I was going to say, a lot of people identify with the words of the Bible or whatever religion book that they're reading differently, right? So this isn't to say, what James is saying is what everyone should believe.
Of course not. Everyone should take the time to find it out for themselves instead of scrolling on social media, instead of watching TV, instead of any other influence that doesn't serve you in any way, shape, or form. It drives me crazy when I see these people on social that pick a verse or a part of a verse from the Bible and say, oh, well, the Bible says this. Bible says a lot of stuff. Again, you've seen my Bible. It got tabs everywhere of contradictions, things that are completely the opposite of something you read a book prior, things that don't seem to align in any way with today's reality, especially in the Old Testament. Wow.
Is there science to reading the Bible?
I don't know. I know that for me, it was and is a very difficult task. So I just said, I'm going to start in the beginning, and I'm going to read a minimum of 10 minutes a day. And that's when it was the grind part.
That's right? What I went through, because I wanted to try and understand what you were talking about at a deeper level. And I felt the only way to do that is if I try to read the words myself. And I got through a few sections of the Bible, and I found myself struggling. There's a part where they talk about Cain, Abel, and then they start talking about Abel, I forget, someone's kids, and then they talk about this was the child of this person's child's grandchild, and I'm like, I don't know how to digest this anymore.
There are sections and entire books in the Bible where it's this one beget this one, and this one beget this one, and this one beget this one, and that's all it is. It's just a lineage.
That's a great way to put it. And I didn't know. I was like, what's the value here? Like, what am I learning from this? Because all I'm hearing is names.
It doesn't matter. I have found messages that spoke to me in places I never thought I would. And I have found volumes of stuff I've read where I'm like, this doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't teach any lesson. Although that's not what is inferred by some others. And that's fine. But I wanted to do it for myself. And it was part of my routine and my discipline and my intention. And now it's something that I enjoy doing every day. It's like, I can't wait to get through the next 10 minutes. Sometimes it's with a cynical eye because I can't wait to point out the next contradiction. And sometimes it's with the most incredibly open heart, particularly in the New Testament, where it's like, yes,
Do you reread, like when you finish? Do you just start from the beginning again?
Yeah, because it is such a heavy read. It's hard for my brain, this may not be for everyone, to go through it and critically think at the same time. I digest the material, I revisit, I add all my marks. And when I revisit, it's when, like, the brain connects, like, okay, yes. And I'm able to critically think a little bit more than the first time through.
Yeah, I struggled with the Bible a lot, and I should pick it back up. But when I got to that part, I remember I was just like, I'm super confused or lost by the point of this.
Okay, so it's 10 minutes a day?
Yeah.
Is there anything that's really that much more valuable in those 10 minutes?
No.
Right?
Yes.
So get back to it. Gut through it. Let it become habit. And let it inform your journey, your story. Doesn't have to be mine. But after going through this and the coaching and the Neville Goddard stuff and the Joe Dispenza stuff and the Navarro stuff and all the things that I've read over the years, I am 100% sure of the mysteries. I've got the answers. And I explained a lot of them earlier. That is what's going on. That's who we are. It's what we're capable of. And it's working beautifully for me.
I love mysteries, right? And unanswered questions, stories, what have you. And I think we should have a day where we just go through some key things that you think are like, some really good topics to touch on. But entertain me with one.
Sure.
I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Okay. So let's do a doozy if we're going to do one. What we talked about earlier, if the power of the mind, and Pete blurted out placebo effect at one point.
What's up with Pete, like giving like really good shout out comments the past 2 times?
He's going through the academy.
Yes, he is.
He's looking in, and he's getting a really good grasp of who he is.
I'm happy about Pete.
Me too.
Good boy.
So
makes it harder to bust his balls, but continue.
It's still bust your balls.
Yeah. If my theories are correct, and it's not a theory to me, I'm just trying to be
as level
set as I can, and we are a part of Source, and our mind can do these incredible things. Think about how much, just for a moment, buy in 1,000% that you can heal yourself, you can heal others, you can create any reality that you want and live that reality, because there is no time. There's just right now.
See, that's a deep one. And
yeah, but buy in for a minute. What would that do to Big Pharma?
Eliminate it.
All but eliminate it. If the placebo effect that gets buried, which essentially is people take a medicine and it's a placebo, it's not real, and they chart the results. If you believe you're taking the medicine and you believe that it's going to make you better, you get better. So now they're doing all of these experiments where atoms are positioning themselves and behaving the way the atom somehow knows, or the particle knows, we perceive this is the way it needs to present itself. If that's documented for 50 years, the double slit experiment has been confirmed, and we can present a reality and change the behavior of particles based on how we are perceiving them, and we can perceive that we're not sick, and we can wake up every day and not feel bad, right? Because when you're overweight or you're sick and you're out of shape, your thought is, oh, I'm going to put my socks on because I don't like the way I look. The shirt is too tight, right? Negative, 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 negative. When you start to see yourself as perfection, the body responds. How many medications come off the shelves? How about the military industrial complex where we're all a part of source? We're not going to fight wars over religion for fucking forever that we have fought and different ideologies, and we're all the same people, and there's a love that we should have for each and every one of us. We don't need all these weapons. We don't need all of this insanity. The NGOs and all the money that goes into all of these causes all over the world don't need it. The structures start to fall away. The influence starts to fall away. If we ever, as a society collectively, believed in a higher authority and those principles, everything goes away and like a utopia emerges, truly. And we're at a point now with disclosure, UFO, on the heels of Epstein, 3i Atlas, Mars, life. A year later, they make the announcement, NASA, we're going back to the moon. For me, the signs are everywhere. You know, I've been on this stuff from day one. It was another piece before NASA confirmed there was life on Mars. And people are going to say, oh, yeah, but it's just bacteria. Okay. It can't be a coincidence that Elon Musk is obsessed with getting to Mars, right? And when you start to peel back those layers and really think about why, it's scary because this planet has gone through many shifts over time. Earth that caused cataclysmic events. And there's a lot of weird shit going on now. There's this gravitational anomaly that's growing and expected to be the size of continental Europe soon, where we can't, it doesn't protect us from the sun's rays anymore. The sun's making all of these solar flares while 3i Atlas is coming around, and NASA posts a picture after all this time when they cut the feed, and I was talking about it leading up to it. It's going to be going past Mars. We'll be able to get government shutdown, feed's cut. And now they release a picture that looks like a street light. It's so bad when there are hobby astronomers posting far clearer pictures from here out of their backyards. It's like the signs are fucking everywhere that there's something else at play, but that destabilizes everything for the people who centralize power. It's such an opportunity to take it back for those of us who don't. And I'm doing all of this in the midst of the biggest things I've ever done in my career from a business perspective. Because I know and I feel it and it has to happen because it's already done. I could be focusing on a lot of stuff at work.
A lot of people, like, they ask me, is like, what is James up to? And I tell them what, the mission is and all that. It's like, why? Do you really want to go down that rabbit hole?
This is the why.
Yeah.
And we're at a pivotal point, people.
And a lot of people don't understand. It's like, why would James do this? The guy has made millions of dollars in real estate, has a turtle back in New Mexico, all this stuff.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of assets.
Where you could be putting all your attention, making tens of millions of dollars and just focusing on that. But this is more. This is bigger than a dollar sign. This is bigger than...
I have kids.
Simple enough.
I got kids, and I see where we're headed. And I've talked to you about this before. I could not and would not impart this stuff just to my kids because it just continues the path. And that's not fair. There are a lot of people that won't have access to this information. If we don't jumpstart this and get this out and start getting people to think beyond themselves and beyond just their family, because we are all connected. And once you feel that, you have no choice. You just have to do it because you want to do it. You can't wait to do it. And the work stuff has become easy for me. It's like I see it, and we've had these events, and now the stuff will probably add up for you a little bit more when we have big events and we're getting great press and there's all sorts of notoriety and people are buying and things are happening and everyone's worked hard toward this event and everyone's high-fiving and celebrating, and I'm pretty neutral.
It drives me fucking insane.
But I've seen it
Yeah.
crystal clearly. And of course it had to happen. Now, that's not an excuse for me to not share in the joy. That's part of what I've been working on. Just because I saw it doesn't mean you don't give gratitude for it happening the way it happened. And seeing everybody else enjoy it is a blessing. But of course, because I believe it's done already, because it is. There are some big initiatives. I don't want to get into the specifics, but
Yeah.
you're aware of them.
Mhm.
Things that for decades were a certain way, and it was like, no way. And it's, of course, it's done already. And then you start to see domino tip, domino, and it just, the door's open.
You know, and I'll end it right here, but it's kind of like a full circle moment when I think back at it. But our first trip with the team, when you brought us to New Mexico, I don't know if you remember, but coming back home, we got stuck in Denver airport. And we were talking about the project. It was still very new. And I had just joined the team. I've been on for a few months. And he looked at me, and I'm pretty sure this was before you went on this journey. And he looked at me and was like, Mike, we got to do this. We got to do this. And I said, straight up to you, oh, it's going to get done. Oh, we're going to do it. And back in the day when I was in radio, one of my mentors in radio at the time was just like, just be a doer. Just do, and it'll get done. And now it's gone from do it to we're already there. And it's cool in a sense, because when I said it at the time that it was going to get done and see how much progress we made, it's crazy how fast things actually do happen.
I had the uncomfortable suit on at that point. I've always had the vision. I've always seen the finished product, but I had to control every miserable step in how we got there. And that actually held me back. So that was during a period of time when that new suit was on. It was like I was trying to convey to you, this has to get done without getting into a whole 4-hour discussion. We would have thought it was nuts at that point because I felt it. I saw it. I knew it. And I'm struggling with how do I convey that this has to get done and not monopolize and dominate the process of how it gets done. But it had to happen. So much of it is it's
Had to crack a few eggs.
of course you got to crack a few eggs to make an omelet, but so much of it aligns so perfectly and so beautifully to what you see in the beginning. And when you have that level of faith in it and it's done already and you live and walk that way, it's so liberating, because no event, no circumstance can knock you off your path. They're just simple distractions. You assign a positive value to it and you move on.
I remember during my interview, you said, not going to get too much into detail about New Mexico, but they're going to write a book about this. I think the book, with everything we're doing, has a whole new chapter.
Probably, but we want to write that book on solving for urban development in emerging markets, because that will transform and change a lot of people's lives. A lot of good people that feel stuck.
Which is most of the country.
Yeah.
Real exciting stuff. But we could end it there. And next episode that we do together, I want to get into the book that you're reading, The Fingerprints of the Gods. And I feel like that's where a lot of the mysteries that you talk about.
It's all there.
I said it right? That's the name of the book?
Yeah.
Fingerprints of the Gods.
Fingerprints of the Gods. Graham Hancock.
And
it's all there, and we've worked so hard to
cover it up.
cover it up and dismiss it. And It's just as you read through example after example after example, and Graham Hancock got utterly eviscerated and attacked for advancing some of these theories. And some of them I agree with, some of them I don't. So he's really clear about fact, 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 fact. Here's how I think this ties together. But there's just so many wild examples of things that you can't explain based on what science has told us is the way things are. It's just not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so, again, once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's everywhere. And if you're not willing to let it go and understand everything is playing out the way it has to play out, it'll drive you nuts. Legit. You need that faith.